Welcome, everybody. This is Cesar Ramos, Vice President for the AACE Houston Gulf Coast chapter. Uh, this interview is called Meet the Board, and this is where we're going to interview the board for 2020 and get to know them a little better. So please sit with us and listen in. Before we get started, a quick summary of what AACE is. AACE is the Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineering, and we have over 7,000 members in 100 countries. AAC International has been serving the total cost management community since 1956. We're committed to the constructive exchange of ideas between members, development, technical guidance, quality education, and recognition of subject matter experts. So we fall under that umbrella of project management and project controls. A lot of valuable information has come out of this industry and this organization, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So that's a quick synopsis of our organization. I'd like to introduce to you Dathan Beasley. He's currently a director at Turner and Townsend. He has over 23 years of experience. He has a successful background in program management and project management. His experiences include billion-dollar plus projects in Australia, North America, Pacific, and Middle East. Mega projects include mining, metals, North Australia, Candalonia infrastructure, reconstruction in Baghdad, Iraq. Um, so he's currently our secretary for the board for AACE Houston Gulf Coast chapter. And with that, let's get uh, let's get him on board. Hey, Dathan, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Wonderful.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so what I usually like to do, I gave you a brief introduction, but I'd like for you to provide kind of a synopsis of what you do, there at Turner and Townsend and your company services.
Yeah, of course. So, just a quick update. So, for those who don't know who Turner and Townsend are, so Turner and Townsend, we're a consultancy firm, independent consultancy firm, specializing in project control, strategic advisory, project management, and program management. We currently started in the UK around 75 years ago, around about that era. Now across multiple countries across the world, we're about we're heading up towards the 7 to 8,000 mark around the world, and we've got a pretty strong hold here in the US. So it's been quite an amazing sort of adventure over the last couple of years. We've sort of grown to about 1,000 plus people here in the US. So bit of fun. Um, we play in three sort of probably major areas, either high tech. So we have a play with a lot of the high tech manufacturers and high tech companies over in San Francisco on the West Coast. Down here in Houston, as one of our other major hubs, we're obviously oil and gas, so Shell, Chevron, you can name all of those ones. And also, our third major hub is up in New York, so dealing with a lot of the real estate. So we kind of go across the three areas of high tech manufacturing, real estate, and infrastructure and oil and gas. So it's a bit of fun.
Yeah, Turner and Townsend. I have a lot of friends that have migrated over there, and they did that years ago. I want to say almost 8 to 10 years ago. And Turner Townsend has become pretty widespread and recognized in the oil and gas industry. So that's
Yeah, I'll be
pretty cool.
honest. I'm new to Turner and Townsend, so I've only been here actually 2 years, about a week ago. So I'm very relatively new in the arena, especially with this company. Previously, I've sort of grown up more on the project side, so it's nice to go into the consultancy side and actually deal with a background in projects and project delivery. So makes my job a lot easier, and now I understand what all those consultants we paid heaps of money for, what they're good for.
Yeah. No, that's good. And s- talking about your work history and your experience, can you walk us through, kind of your 23 years, how that's
Wow.
evolved?
Okay, so started out in Australia, obviously with my silly accent, you can tell. Back in Australia, started with a small construction firm called Bechtel. We basically, yeah, that's where I grew up. So grew up in projects, mining and metals. I sort of ventured through not only mining and metals, and I pretty much had a project involved in anything you could think of through zinc, copper, gold, nickel, uranium, mineral sands, all those. Ventured out into manufacturing and built smelters, several smelters around the world I've been involved in. I've played with power generation, reconstruction. I This is actually country number 11 for me. So I had a bit of adventure of going back and forth in different countries and living. And I've had a very understandable wife who supported me through those. And the kids all like to travel too. So I have to admit, it's one of those things where it's nice when your kids can speak three different languages, except when they start yelling at you in them. But some of the highlights, I would say, I've been involved with the Iraq with the reconstruction during the war. So we were getting power generation and power distribution through there, through the country. Uh, Very interesting times, and something I don't see on many people's resumes, but it was good. I've built smelters in the longest smelter in the world in Dubai. So prior to coming to the US, I was working in Dubai, and we a 1.7 kilometer long smelter. So it was the largest one, two lines, sorry, longest in the world. Built refineries there as well. And yeah, so when I came over to here, I started to work with one of the high tech manufacturers over in San Francisco. Obviously, there's four major ones there, so we work with three of them. You can pick. Uh, and yeah, now they've sort of tapped me on the shoulder to move to Houston. So I've been here for the last 8 months. Oh, so 9 months here in Houston and 7 months at home. So
Yeah.
it's been an interesting transition. So got very excited to
Yeah.
come over. So yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty much where I'm playing now.
that's kind of where you're at then, huh? So,
Absolutely.
so here's a question, what's one thing you wish you had known when you started your career? Is there anything?
Yeah, patience.
Patience. Yeah,
Absolutely.
really.
It's when I was sort of highlighted as young engineer in companies, and they class me as what they call a high potential employee or a high pot. This kid's got great excitement, and he's got very a lot of enthusiasm, but he just needs to just slow down and learn. So I was always trying to bite off more than I can chew and get involved in things that I honestly, back at hindsight, would say I had no business of being there. But I was very fortunate enough to have mentors around the world, high profile mentors around the world who actually really did take the time, and I'm in turn doing exactly the same thing now. So I have no problem with taking time with individuals, especially it doesn't matter where they are in their career, to help them be involved, give them advice, and hopefully they can learn from it and learn from my mistakes, obviously, and advance much further than I ever did.
Now and then looking back, 23 years gone by, and now you look back, what do you see in the up and coming talent? It seems as though, you know, technology's changed, things have changed, even our kids, they're grown up with technology where we grew up without it. And our focus was different, and now you see the young and up talent has a different way of understanding and learning. What's your perspective when you
I
when you
think it, I
recognize
think
that?
think there's definitely a positive there. A lot of the a lot of the decision making now is data driven, um, but it's actually improved over the last, I want to say, 5 years. It's going from data driven decision making, but once upon a time was, well, the computer told me that, and the younger generation go, well, that's the answer. Well, are you sure? Is that the reason we should go down that path? Whereas now there's more analytics with regards to that data, because I mean, it's easy. We grew up with a rubbish in, rubbish out. We've heard that I don't know how many times, but now a lot of the younger generation I'm noticing are looking at the data, understanding where the data come from, and does it actually make sense? Now, obviously, experience helps you with understanding does it make sense. And once upon a time, it was I would always go and ask my superiors, "Why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense." Because my gut feeling. And you go, well, how do you justify that gut feeling? So, well, because I've been burnt before in the past, I don't want to be burnt again. So
Mhm.
it does have positives, but now they're able to capture the information and to predict what that is going to turn out. So it sort of supports that gut feeling of the older sort of wiser ladies and gentlemen who used to run projects would definitely use.
I think there's two sides to the fence when we talk about data, and I kind of straddle that fence where a lot of data is good, but I've also heard the reference as it's like drinking out of a fire hose. That there's so much data that we don't know how to digest it, even as individuals. Were you around last year for the conference we had in November in Houston
No,
at,
I
at U of H?
no, I was just arriving at that time.
Okay. So we had the Houston Gulf Coast had a conference at the U of H, and we brought on a lot of speakers, and the topic of the conference was the future readiness, right? Future readiness meaning data, and all these good speakers came out, and they brought in their own perspectives of where they perceive to be in the industry, how mature we are, how prepared we are, and there was a lot of good dialogue, especially in regards to data. um, and that's interesting that you bring up data because it's the topic that we're all involved with now, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes trying to get, I guess, some integrity behind how we collect the data, security behind how we keep that data secured. There's all these elements that, even though with good intentions, we have to recognize and be prepared for that. So I'm glad you brought up the data points, but it's the moving forward perspective, I guess you could say. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, it it's one of those things where it's definitely a necessity nowadays. With the volume of data that's coming through, with the volume of requests, um, I think always think back. Well, we're on a fast track project is always a comment I always heard. I think in the last 25 years, I've never worked on a project that's not fast track. So
yeah, right.
making that with it, using data and using it in a smart way, you're able to help support basically having a smart sort of having a fast track project and supporting it and being able to deliver. So I've always come down to my big key thing is the key for me is delivery. So no matter what you're working on, no matter how detailed or how sort of difficulty or whatever arises or challenges in your face, you need to be able to deliver. So if you've got data to help you make those decisions and make the right ones, and that's where project controls comes in. Always been a massive fan of project controls. Hence, started as electrical engineer and saw projects go awry because time and money. And if you're not on time and you're not on budget, guess what? It doesn't matter how well you engineer it, you fail. So
Right.
I wanted to make sure I stepped into that arena to help deliver.
Well, the data and you'll find on next week's meeting, James Arrow is going to present, and he's the individual that kind of spearheaded the first recommended practice out of AACE, and it was data analytics. So we're talking about, we call it the fourth industrial revolution, and it's data, and it's
True.
data, but it's true, and the construction world is lacking, right? So you've got tech and Google and all these companies. They collect information, they're prepared for it, but we're still antiquated in how we collect the data, how we decipher it. So the construction arm of the industry is lacking and reacting to how data is used for analytics, let's say. So that's going to be an interesting talk next week. You'll be there. I'll be there.
Absolutely.
Well, and anybody online, we welcome you to join us. Please do. It's going to be a good topic. Um, so, what's one common myth about the profession you're in that you wanted to debunk? What do you always hear out there?
Ah, one of the common myths, especially within project controls, is we're accountants. So I always quite tell people that there's a big difference between accountants and project controls, especially within projects and project delivery. Is Accountants are fantastic at looking at the past, understanding what they did, where they went, how much they spent, fix it. Whereas project controls is where they're designed to look to the future and sort of predict where things are going to impact, where issues are going to arise. So that's the one thing. So a lot always on every project when you try and work out, oh, we need some help, we need some support. You go and talk to the teams, and no, I'm not going to tell you anything because if I get it wrong or I guess it wrong, you're going to belt me over the head next week because you guys are just a bunch of police counting beans. I'm going, well, if you actually use this more the right way, then guess what? We'll actually help you avoid those issues. And one of my biggest things I've always said, project controls, when I try to sum it up into sort of one sort of statement, is we're the instrument panel on an airplane. So project controls, you can fly an airplane, anyone can fly. Problem is, if you have no instruments and it's cloud and you can't see out the front, outside the screen, then guess what? You don't know where you're going. You don't know if you're upside down. You don't. Whereas project controls, you don't even have to look outside. We can tell you where you're going and how you're tracking. And as long as it's repeatable and it's consistent, and you're reporting against the same thing, guess what? You're going to be pretty much on target the whole time, or be aware when you're off. So that's where, to me, the project controls really comes in its own and its importance.
What you know, we have data, right? We analyze data, we do forecasting. That's kind of the all-encompassing role that we play and try and provide that. But um, what's your perspective on the human element, right? I for one have uh, about 11 years ago, I started getting into social sciences and biases and understanding this because what I started to recognize is even though we had the right information in front of us, we still, as a project or a team, decided to do something in a certain way. But when you dug into it a little further, you found that there was some biases, is what we'll call it. There was some perception, some confidence bias, and usually that played into it enough to the fact that it impacted us. What's your perspective on the human element?
Well, always you can come back to two things, and I do this with all my teams. You've always got an A and a B team. So the systems can be the same, the data can be the same, the process can be the same, but if you don't have the right team, then guess what? There is still a higher chance of failure than not. I've always, especially coming into Turner and Townsend, I was asked the one thing of, well, what's a good thing about, what do you see as an ideal team? And I said, look, there's two types you can have out there in the world. You can have a team full of superstars. They're all brilliant, excited, know exactly what they're doing. Or you can have a team that's a superstar team. Me, I prefer the latter. I prefer a team that's been designed to actually deliver as a unit rather than in individual superstars. Now, both can be successful, but I find the latter can be more repeatable. The reason why they're more successful and from a repeatable perspective is they work to the benefits and the strengths of each other's. Now, if you have that right mix on your team, then you can make that data sing. You can make those systems sing and deliver. So again, it comes down to people. It's very interesting. Project controls and project management would be so much easier if it didn't have any people involved. So it'd be great. Projects would be perfect, but
Right.
unfortunately, people are involved. And guess what? We all have our good days and we all have our bad days. That's why I find it's good from a data perspective is if you have the data on your bad days, there's still a check, there's still a validation, there's still something there you can look at. And if someone says, no, I want to do it this way, why? Well, because that's the way I've always done it. Okay, great. You've always done it that way and you've been successful. Doesn't mean it's the right way. Maybe you've gotten lucky. So
Hmm.
again, there's always a human element, and that's why no project's the same. You could, one of my favorite pet peeves. Oh, don't worry, this is going to be easy. It's a cookie cutter approach to this job. There's no such thing. I'm sorry. There's
Right.
always an element that's different, and it could be as simple as a weather delay. It could be different, and all of a sudden it throws all your harmony out and throws out the window. So yeah, it's one of those things where people are always involved, and that's why I think you'll find a lot of the companies nowadays are going down the path of making sure people are comfortable. I mean, look at the way the Googles and the Apples and the Amazons of the world have changed just the dynamic at work. Um, and even the bigger companies, Shell and the Chevrons from the oil and gas perspective, they're no longer an office space which is the bland office, cubicles. No, there's workstations, there's hubs, there's different aspects, and they're making sure that people are comfortable where they are and what they're working on, and they can be in the best frame to be more productive. So, and it comes down to support. So, when we were when I was in San Francisco working with one of the high techs, I mean, I can't mention obviously Google's name, but
Mhm.
what I found was it was very interesting, the dynamic and the people and the way they would deliver something compared to what I grew up with and what I grew up with on sites and different things in parts around the world. So it's very interesting. It all has its advantages, but it comes down to people. People always, there's always a possibility that people will play it up and play it to their advantage and take advantage of the situation. Now, you have the right team, that doesn't happen. And swings and roundabouts. If you need to be excused for some reason to support, happy to support it. I mean, I've always had it. There's actually one good feedback I got from one of my employees. He said, look, he was very pleased with when he worked with us, and he worked really hard. But he says he was so excited and to be happy to work with me again because I got to see my kids' soccer games. It was this one big thing, and it was on a bad time of the day. But by working with him and adopting the work environment for him, and we still supported the project, we still delivered it, and he got to see all his son's football games. He was so proud, or he was so privileged to be able to do that. Growing up, I knew you clocked in and you clocked out, and if you weren't sitting at your desk, you obviously weren't working. Well, those
Yeah.
days are gone.
Yeah.
So
I remember those days. It's
yeah,
funny. Uh, yeah, if you weren't working, if you were sitting around,
well,
you weren't working. But
absolutely. If you weren't at your desk, you weren't working. So well, that's not right. That's not the way things are nowadays, and it's been proven. And I have to admit, the whole situation with the lockdowns and the whole COVID situation we've been in, it's just proven we still can be productive. And because I remember once I would work from home, work from home, you're watching football, or you're watching the cricket on the TV, or you're watching this, or you're
mm,
playing with the dog. You're not working if you're at home. Well, guess what? That's obviously been proven wrong.
yeah, and that's I guess that's the elephant in the room now is here we are sitting in quarantine, working from home. Uh, where traditionally we had to go in and sit in every meeting,
Yep.
and they perceived you to be watching football or whatnot. And now that's been proven that we can still be effective, we can still do our job. All these wonderful elements, um, and that's really changed the game. Is this virtual, uh, remote style of work kind of opens up for new opportunities, I think.
Absolutely, and it's proven that it can work.
So, what do you think? What does the future look like for us post COVID, in your opinion?
Look, honestly, it's ours to what we make it. It's the dynamic has changed, the world has changed. I mean, like I said, as I said earlier, we always have that new phrase, oh, it's a new world or it's the new norm. Well, yeah, this is true, but what it's done, it's shown that we can be adaptive, and especially from a project's perspective, we can adapt to the environments, not only at a site or at a construction site, or we can actually do it from anywhere in the world. Now, there was always talk about conferences. There's always talk about. I mean, I work with companies that have um, cost centers or different cost centers all around the world working on the same project. Well, guess what? That's exactly what we're doing now, just on a global scale and on a wider scale. So it'll be interesting to see. It'd be nice to get back to the office. I do miss the camaraderie. I do miss catching up with someone at a water fountain and finding out what happened on the weekend. All that's fantastic. I mean, the moment now, I've got to put a Zoom invite or a Skype meeting to actually turn around and go, "Hey, let's catch up." It's just to shoot the breeze. But no, it's going to be good. I think there's going to be a good mixture, and I think hopefully we get the best of both worlds out of it going forward.
Do you think that we come, January, February, and things start to normalize, we just go back to the old ways, or do you think? Uh,
I don't think you'll go back to the old ways. I think it'll be a migration of both.
okay.
We will have the old guy in the corner with the grey hair who can't handle these damn fangled computer things, and we'll always have that. And they'll want to be in the office, and I need to physically see people. I mean, I've got friends who have CEOs say, "No, I want everyone in the office right now,"
Mhm.
and I'm going, That's just it's unrealistic."
Yeah.
So I mean, I know my house is turned. It's quite funny. We have a new doormat out the front. It says "Welcome to our home." Well, and then that's been crossed out. "Welcome to our office, home
No.
office." That's been crossed out. Now it's "Welcome to our school." So it's it's definitely a interesting dynamic has happened.
The new normal that I found is uh, hearing the lawn care guys in the background, the dogs barking
Yep.
in the background, and then we just shrug it off as that's just part of the background noise, and things moving in the background, kids jumping, screaming. It's kind of interesting that we kind of accepted that and say let's just kind of ignore the background noise and let's just stay focused because I don't think there is a perfect environment, especially if you're working from home.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
you know, for as far as uninterrupted sound or things like that.
Now that also leads to a bit of a problem though too. Working from home, once upon a time, my commute to work was 25 to 40 minutes, depending on traffic, which I'm learning in Houston, by the way. I'm trying to find my perfect time to travel. But what I've noticed is the computer's always on. Now, this is a negative I can definitely see. I don't know how many times, oh, especially you say, Caesar, getting emails at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night where, guys, you need to switch off. So that whole work-life balance challenge is now upon us. I mean, that's one special thing we've done with our company is we're training people on and getting involved in sort of reevaluating what that work-life balance is. What does it mean to turn off your machine? And hey, with all the technology nowadays, there's always an email on your phone or on your laptop or on your computer, and you've got access to it 24/7. Well, there's sometimes we just got to learn to unplug and take advantage of that. That's why I love the golf course.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I've noticed that even with people that I've known and work for and work with. Um, I'm getting emails from them at night, midnight, uh, Saturdays. It's like because they're not going anywhere, the computer's there. They just keep working, so they're not unplugging. And I found myself doing the same. I don't unplug. I look at the clock. It's 8 o'clock. Like maybe I should just stop. But it's like, what else am I gonna do, right? Just watch TV. What else is there
Yeah,
to do, right?
yeah, we can't go anywhere. So, but no, you're right. So, and even on a Saturday morning, the first thing I do, I wake up and I walk to the computer and go, I'll just check. I'll be 5 minutes. Anyway, then all of a sudden it's 3 hours later, and I've gone, oh, I've got to get up and have some breakfast. So yeah, no, it definitely happens.
Yeah, that's definitely moving forward. That's an important work-life balance needs to exist some kind of way. There are opening up things now. Gyms are more active. People are going out. You know, and so there's ways that now people can, I think, unplug. I guess get away from the computer. So if there was any piece of advice you could impart on the audience, online, what would it be? What would you tell them?
Whew. Any piece of advice? Have fun.
Have
Enjoy what
fun.
you do. Enjoy. I mean, I know it sounds silly and it's a tagline that a lot of people throw away, but throughout my career and through different projects. So there's been projects that have been tough, but I've always tried to had fun with it, and enjoyed what I did. And so it was always involved. So whether it was in the middle of Mexico working on a copper mine, or in the middle of in Middle East, trying to get in the summer and scorching heat, and just trying to deliver a power station. It was fun. I really got to enjoy, I enjoyed what I did, and actually got involved. And I find a lot of that comes with the people that you're with. So a lot of the projects I've done around the world, I still connect with those individuals, and so by enjoying what I do and enjoying the people I work with, it's been an adventure. And
Hmm.
what's interesting is my children have seen the same thing. So you keep asking them. My eldest one's 14, so he's going to that stage where I'm starting to be frightened about college costs. But and looking at what he wants to do, and he says, I want to find a job that's done so I can keep living this life. I've really enjoyed the traveling. I've really enjoyed being part and meeting different people from all over the world. So awesome.
Alrighty. Okay. So you recently joined AACE. You came on and joined the board. Um, what is your what is your perception of the involvement, your
Well, actually,
motivation?
I'll just go back a little bit. So I actually got involved with AACE 20 plus years ago, coming out of college in Australia, and I heard about the organisation, what they did, and I got involved early. So I've been off and on, and each different country I go to, I find where the AAC chapter is and get involved. So, and recently coming to the US 2 years ago, I was on the West Coast. I got heavily involved, and I introduced Turner and Townsend to AACE in that for that office. So we got quite a good number of people joining up and going to their winter workshops and things like that. So that was fantastic. And I was fortunate enough to go to the International Expo, which down in Louisiana, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And
Hmm.
it's a bit of a shame I couldn't make it to Chicago this year, but oh well, maybe next year. So,
Yeah.
and what I found was AACE was a great place to find and meet people who same interests, same sort of similar backgrounds, and but such a wide variety of experience. So that's what I loved about it. So they sort of spoke and sort of talked the same way, but oh my God, it was an amazing myriad of different experiences and different backgrounds, and the conversations. I don't know how many times the meetings had finished, and I'd catch up with someone, and all of a sudden 2 hours later we're sitting at a bar drinking and just chatting away on different experiences we've had, and it's happened all over the world. So it's got to the point now where whenever I move somewhere or I've changed, I've had to ring up AC. Okay, you need to move my membership from that country to this country, and so I think they know me by name by now. But no, so when I sort of spoke to the family, and we decided we moved to Houston, and they liked it here, so we when I sort of might want to stay for a little while longer. Obviously, assuming my job and the president allows me to stay here longer on my visa, but so it will be. I decided, well, it's about time to start giving back in a more formal role with AAC. So they've supported me a lot over the years and helped me grow and expand my experience and my network. And I thought, you know what? I think it's time I think I'm going to be here for a little while. So I spoke to the previous president and said, look, I'm happy to join and not only just join for meetings and support that way, but actually support them on a more permanent basis. So I'm here to help.
Well, it came right on time because quite a few of our board members have retired and they've kind of left the board. So we needed fresh bodies in, and you're a long timer AACE, just such as I 20 years ago, same thing. So I'm just here trying to help contribute to the organization, and maybe together amongst ourselves, we're going to try and bring it into the new age of the future. Future readiness is what we call it. So I'm glad you're on board, and if anybody needed to reach out for you, are you willing to give out that information?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. No,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to talk, discuss. What's quite interesting is over the years I've built up a bit of a network around the world, and I still actually still talk to my mentors and people who've asked me to be their mentors. So my calendar's always full with people who just want to chat and catch up and see how things are going. So timing's a little difficult over here in the US. I've noticed,
Yeah.
especially within Europe and back in Oz. But no, I'm more than happy to help and honestly, if I can avoid someone heartache or help someone just avoid a step I took and that sort of gave me a bit of a kick in the teeth, I am more than happy. So I'm always happy to meet people, and there's a lot of people out there a hell of a lot smarter than I am. But if I can give them a little bit of help or advice along the way to make them even a better person or a better version of themselves, I'm all for it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I thank you for your time, and look forward to more of these interviews. We're trying to get the rest of the board to come on and have a bit of uh, a sound piece for themselves, and
Awesome.
trying to kick off this our YouTube channel as well. But I thank for your time, and have a great weekend, I guess.
Yeah, they all meld into each other, don't they? But oh, of course. But thank you very much. I really do appreciate the time and I appreciate the effort, Caesar. I really do.
All righty.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.